Today, on the Shrewd Dudes podcast, we are going to talk about a few different things. In this week in satire, we're going to not do a political type of satire. We are going to address what car signals mean for women.
Oh, I love this one. This is so
I
fun.
know. It is very entertaining.
Yeah.
In our rants of the week, we're going to talk about cancellation. Is there a good way to be canceled? Is there a bad way to be canceled? Is there right reasoning? You're fired.
Bye.
Then in our New Word Order, we're going to discuss terrorism, specifically stochastic terrorism. Didn't know that was a thing.
It is a thing.
And then, finally, in our Nothing to See Here, we're going to discuss the damage that parents and adults do to children and how they try and hide it. All of that and more on the Shrewd Dudes podcast. Sorry for everyone that took a second for me to realize. I thought I had clicked the button, but I missed.
Steven.
I had missed for like the first 2 seconds, and then I'm like, why is nothing happening?
By the way, I want to warn everybody. Steven has been on a bit of a losing streak tonight, and I'm just hoping it doesn't continue for the rest of the stream. Actually, I'm like, come on, you can do this, man. You can do this. You gotta like recoup.
You're so mean.
I was watching it the whole time. It was like something was going on with the stream video, and then there's a bunch of other issues, and I was just like, it happens. Sometimes, even Michael Jordan had a bad night sometimes. It happens.
Comparing me to Michael Jordan.
Okay, even Abraham Lincoln, lost a couple.
Well, I'm not the only one being compared to Abraham Lincoln this week.
Apparently not. That's my point.
Friggin' Liz Cheney being a
Liz
moron.
Cheney thinking she's like the best person ever in American politics. How dare she?
Yeah, utterly stupid. Anyways.
Anywho.
So, for those who don't know, for those who are new, every Thursday we do a live stream at 8 o'clock Mountain Time.
Right.
And we discuss the news of the week. We have a few special segments because there's typically less news from Tuesday to Thursday than there is from Thursday to Tuesday. And so Tuesday is our catch-up time, and then Thursday we dive deeper into the stories which we want.
Thursdays are let's make sense of the crap happening.
Yes.
Day,
and so Thursdays, because they're live streams, you can also participate in the chat. We'll try and engage with you as much as possible. If you have any questions, we'll answer them on air. So do not hesitate to ask any questions, but there might be a delay because we're having this conversation.
By the way, if anybody has any questions about Steven the Red-Nosed Reindeer up here, it's just because he wears glasses while he works. That's question answered. We got this covered.
I work in the bright sunlight.
You got like the red nose, man. It's great. You would turn white.
I had way too much liquids today.
Yeah, you have to because of like a hot sun.
Well, but I was working in the shade, and so I'm like, all right, I have all this liquid, and it's like, you're going to be in the shade. I'm like, yay! I'm in the shade. And then I'm like, I have a cooler that has like 8 liters of fluids. Nice. I don't need this.
When you say fluids, you mean like
Gatorade, Gatorade.
That's be covering all non-solid, objects.
Hydrating things.
Hydrating, materials.
So, yeah, I still have a lot left in that cooler.
I feel like a lefty right now, using all sorts of crazy euphemisms for things that should be simple, but it works.
Anyways.
In this scenario, it works really well.
In this scenario, it does work really well. So,
hey,
we're going to
some fun stuff today. I like this.
We're going to break into some interesting things. So the first thing we're going to watch.
I'm excited.
Yeah, you're excited for this.
These are funny. I actually like these.
Entertaining. Okay, so this is a video. This is sound on Antifa gets whooped. This is whopped. It should be whooped with frying pan, and you can actually hear the ding. It's hilarious.
No, I think whopped is the right term.
And guy in the red. Ding, ding. gosh. One more time. One more time.
So hard. I'm like,
Oh man. He's like the embodiment of Samwise Gamgee.
the only way that would be any better is if like they had a little like a little audio clip at the end of that. Be like, man, I have got to get me one of these. That's all I can think of is Tangled.
Goodness.
Basically, Flynn Rider fighting off everyone with like a frying pan. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it made me think of.
Pretty much.
It's
well,
funny.
You thought
It's
of Flynn
the
Rider.
best.
I thought of Samwise Gamgee fighting off
What's
the
he doing?
orcs. Well, no,
Yeah,
because
but
when
he uses a sword.
he uses a sword and a frying pan.
Does he?
Yes.
I forgot about the frying
He
pan.
literally, when he goes to rescue Frodo, like nerd moment. Hi, Robin. Our friend Robin made a pregnancy announcement with the Lord of the Rings theme, and I was like, got to make a little shout out. Hi, Robin.
Robin.
But yeah, when he's rescuing Frodo from Cirith Ungol, then, or from the tower adjacent to Cirith Ungol, I should say, he has a sword in his right hand, and then a frying pan in his left.
Nicely done.
And so he fights off the orcs, and he'll like slash them, and then the frying pan will be like, face.
Boonk.
It's great.
I still think the scene with Flynn Rider is better because he literally fights off all of these soldiers with a frying pan alone, and that's like the epitome of frying pan users. It's also a very effective weapon.
And then of course my wife will chastise me because I broke our frying pan.
Way to go.
Do you remember how I broke it?
Me?
I was with you when I broke it.
I don't remember actually.
It was so we're going camping tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And the time that I broke the frying pan was with Danny camping, and I stupidly tried to use the frying pan to fan the fire.
Oh.
I was like, woo, woo, smack. Like,
oh, you hit the.
My wife will kill me.
Mm-hmm. You haven't gotten a frying pan since?
No, we just left it broken. Because it's only the secondary handle that's broken.
I was gonna say, but you don't have multiple frying pans, eh?
Not a cast iron one.
Oh, okay.
We have some Teflon ones. We don't have another cast iron one.
I will bring my cast iron.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's good for you too. You get to use it.
Sure. Let's do that.
Let's like combine our powers. Your powers combined. I am Captain.
Okay then.
Let's do this. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is really.
I'm trying to share something, and
Facebook
is messing up.
Called it.
Anyways, I'll go to the next one. So, Babylon Bee from This Week in Satire. What all those car warning lights mean. A guide for women. And then as we go along, we'll also, when we do like 1, 2, 1, 2, we'll say what those signs mean if we know them. Okay.
Do it.
So I'll start. So cars are incredible contraptions, but what do all the funny lights on the dashboard mean? Ladies, this handy guide is for you.
You're welcome, ladies.
Behold! A detailed explanation of each dashboard light. First one. This means nothing. You can drive your car indefinitely. Nothing bad will happen.
It's perfectly fine. No problem.
Yeah, not sure where car makers keep putting this on. Now, there is one manufacturer. If this comes on, it means nothing.
Really?
What is that car manufacturer?
Dodge?
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen. Go figure.
If you have a Volkswagen in your check engine light, it means nothing. It means nothing. I had a Volkswagen. Honestly, 95% of the time I had that Volkswagen, it was on. And it was like I bought it, not brand new, but I bought it from this guy. It was in great shape. Check engine light came on within 2 days.
Nice.
And then I would check it, and it's like O2 sensor is misaligned, and I'm like, that means nothing.
So you're basically you're like in the Volkswagen. This light means, oh yeah, your engine's still there.
Yes.
You're good. Engine's still there.
No
problems.
If it's flashing, you have a serious problem.
I've heard that. My buddy Mike told me that. Apparently, the flashing is the danger one. The having it on just means there's something you should probably.
There's something you should check up. If it's flashing, it's just do not drive your car. I've had the flashing once, on my Volkswagen.
Mhm.
And that was because I had a compression coil go.
That's not
And
good.
so my car was in limp home mode on 3 cylinders.
Mm.
It was like...
All right, we got to do the next
All
one.
right, yeah, we do.
Gotta-
Okay.
Okay, this next one, I actually don't know what this is, but I will say I love what they said. Alert! Shoe sale at Bloomingdale's. Let's go!
Yep.
Do you know what that is? That's
I
fine.
think it has something to do with the brakes. I'm
Maybe
not sure.
or maybe you're good to press gas. I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is. If somebody knows, feel free to let us know.
Yeah.
What's the next one? Steven?
Okay, so this one.
Hmm.
Genie has granted your car a wish. Congratulations. Maybe now you can afford gas.
Oh,
This, of course, is your oil light. It comes on if
check
you're...
it.
No,
That's
it means that your your oil level is below the sensor. I have had this come on.
Dangerously low.
I had this come on also in the Volkswagen because for some reason my turbo line caught on the ground and ripped a giant hole in my oil pan that was this big. And so I ran out of oil in about 30 seconds.
Nice. Yeah. So this is the world is about to fall apart. So go change your oil now or add oil immediately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
Next
right.
one. This is it's time to remove your IUD. A little personal, but okay. You know, those cars, they're really intuitive. They really know their stuff.
They're really
well.
they're really into you.
They know their stuff.
They do. They do.
All right. What's the next one, Steven?
Well, what does that one mean?
I have no idea, actually.
Windshield washer fluid low.
Oh, is that what it means? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it would be something else.
This one.
Yours.
Be careful. This means a bullet bill is flying towards you.
Jump!
Jump!
If only there was a jump button on the car.
Technically, it should be jump on top so you knock it down to the ground.
Well, I mean, either one. Or duck. You can also duck.
Yeah, you could duck, but it's way cooler if you jump on top of them. And then
so
if you're really talented, you can create a bridge of bullet bills. Those are... I am not that talented. What this light actually means is
Spotlight.
that... Yes. Thank you, Danny.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. Next one is really funny. There's a surprise in your uterus. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Man, even cars can are more
Yeah,
accurate.
like IUDs, surprising your uterus? Dang. Like, very impressive. Very
Who
impressive.
would have thought? Those cars know their stuff.
Okay.
That actually does look like a pregnant lady's belly.
Yes. What is it, though?
Well, you're going to tell me.
Why would I?
Because I told you what the last one was. You got to
Okay, fine. Tire pressure low.
Every time.
Apparently, I can't share it.
You got this one.
I do. All right. Buckle up, you armless baby. Otherwise, it might wiggle away like a worm. Yeah, there's no arms there.
No, not at all.
It's kind of weird. But of
Sure,
course,
that's
this is the seatbelt warning light. It is very annoying.
important.
And especially if it in your car, if it has a ding.
Oh yeah, I hate it when like the passenger doesn't put on the seatbelt.
Oh, that happened. I was driving this other guy for lunch today, and we're on our way back, and he doesn't put it on. I'm like,
It's gonna keep doing
You
that
are
until you
dead to
put
me.
it on.
and he's just like, and I'm like, no,
Suffer.
I don't want this to go off.
Suffer.
Although on my on my Civic, I had one of those lights, and the ding would come on. The ding would come on as soon as I turned on the car.
Oh jeez.
So I'd like hop in, step on the clutch, start the car, and then ding, ding, and I'm like
hold your
I'm not
freaking
even
horses.
moving. I haven't even put the car in gear yet. Oh, I was not pleased.
Not fun. All right, I got the next one. This was great. This symbol means you have great abs. You go, girl. Only in high-end vehicles like a Lamborghini. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
You know what? I do need that reassurance every
Yeah.
time I get into a car. I mean, it may be true or it may not be true, but I like to feel like it may be true.
Now, what does it mean?
Means baby suffers. Alligator behind seat. I'm gonna go with alligator behind seat. That's what I'm guessing.
What?
It's the ABS is on or not?
Yes.
Not
What does ABS mean?
anti-braking system.
Yes.
Jeez, no sense.
Anti-lock brakes.
Well, anti-braking system is what ABS means.
Yes.
not anti-lock brakes. It's not ALS.
Well, but it's your anti-lock braking. It's not your anti-braking system. It's your anti-lock braking system.
Sure, that's fine. But it's still ABS.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Your car has COVID-19.
Alligator behind seat.
Why weren't you wearing a mask, Cheryl? Yeah. Now this is that your coolant is low.
Or your car is overheating. I like the next one.
Can be, but it wouldn't have it at the low mark.
Mm-hmm. But it would also be correlated. Right,
also, if your car is overheating, look for the steam.
Yes, perhaps. Yeah.
You will notice. It will either be in front of your hood or out the back. When my car overheated, I was like, ah! Everybody else is honking at me, and I'm like, ah!
All right. One day we'll move on to the next one, where car has been placed in put on makeup mode. Not that you need it. Women are fantastic multitaskers. I laugh because I've been with women in their car when they're putting on makeup and their like little thing, and I'm just like, you know what? This would be a lot less terrifying if you could actually keep it in the lane and not slowly merge into other lanes. It's terrifying.
Shelly, you are hilarious. These are symbols in cars. It's not boring to talk about cars because we're doing it in a humorous fashion.
Hilarious.
I know. We are. Mm-hmm. So, this one. There's a giant padlock in the back of your car. How did that get there?
I like that one.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen this light come on, but I think it has something to do with the child locks.
Oh, is that what it means?
I think. I have no idea.
I like the next one. This is the robot that assembled your car. His name is Beta 3885. Aw, so cute.
Yeah, that one's...
This actually kind of looks like a robot, a winking robot. Is what it looks like.
Yeah.
This basically means your battery is low or not working.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one?
Okay. This one. Do a barrel roll. Great going. You reminded me of your father.
Daddy issues.
Yeah.
What does that one mean, Steven? I actually don't know.
I don't know. I do not know what this one means.
Like rollover.
There's
like,
so many lights that I'm just like, I've never seen this before.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got a couple more. Let's see what we got here. Guy with the gigantic balloon in his face. There will be a blood moon tonight. Oh no. Enemies are going to respawn. I'm guessing this is the airbag light?
Yes, that's the airbag light. The blood moon is a reference to Zelda.
Ah, okay. That's good to know. Yeah. What's the next one, Steven?
A snake is coming out of your iPod. How did the car know? This car is so intuitive.
Very intuitive cars. I like it.
I don't even need to tell you what this is. What that one is.
Low.
Yeah.
Your car. Okay, next one is your car has monkeypox. Shouldn't have driven through West Hollywood.
West Hollywood? Why wouldn't they say San Francisco?
San Francisco would work too. I mean, basically anywhere where there's like very high, gay community or whatever.
I think this is the one you were looking for earlier.
Which is?
This is the overheating.
Overheating? Oh, okay. Mine doesn't look like that when it overheats.
Oh. All right. Well, this one's mine. This one's mine. Bumper lanes ahead. You may remove your hands from the wheel. So relaxing. It's not bowling.
What is that? I don't actually know what that is.
That one is vehicle lane departure alert.
Oh,
I think.
Interesting.
I've never had a car that had that. So
that's a weird one. Okay, I like this one. An enemy has spotted you. Go hide under the nearest cardboard box immediately. I even heard the sound. You know what that reference is from?
Oh yeah.
It's from what's it called?
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear Solid. It's like, like, I actually want to get that. I want to get that as a ring or text tone on my phone. It's such an iconic sound, right? It'd be so good.
Yeah. Of course, that means the parking brake is on, or it means that your parking brake sensor is on, like in my car. Because I'm like, the parking brake is not on. Stop telling me my car is
It will never turn off ever. Okay.
Never.
So that has been a nice list, a guide for women on how to use your what the warning lights mean on your car. You're welcome, ladies.
You're welcome, ladies.
It's a public service to you.
Wow, why can't I?
Steven's having some problems.
Like tech issues are becoming an issue today.
I guess so.
Like
You
Restream, I
thought
can't scroll down for some
you
reason on
thought
the
I was
chat.
just
I'm very
being
sorry.
mean, but no, that's
I literally cannot see any of the comments.
really that's weird.
Well, yeah, I can't see them
No.
on Restream, which is somewhat
Okay,
annoying.
so Shelly fell asleep. Let's move on.
Yeah, I know. So let us go on to the next topic,
Just D.
which is the rant of the week. Oh, yes.
Oh, by the way, I have a short little clip I shared with you on Messenger. If you can grab it, and I'll introduce this segment
I'm
while
going
you're
to kill
grabbing it.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I thought of it like literally as we started the show. I'm like, we got to do this part.
All
Okay.
right.
By the way, so today's rant of the week.
I haven't even done the intro yet. Shut up.
Well, why didn't you do it? I can't see this.
Red alert.
All right, it's done. Go ahead.
Gosh, you're the worst. I mean, the best guy. Anyways, so some interesting things happened this week that we were like a lot of people were predicting, but didn't actually happen until today. And funny enough, they happened on the same day. Two major political commentators were canceled.
There we go.
Two major political commentators were canceled on their respective networks, and it is absolutely crazy how they basically were mistreated as people. However, the important thing is the reason and the rationale for that, and we're going to talk about that. But because we're talking about people being canceled, I wanted to show a start with this lovely scene from one of my favorite shows, How I Met Your Mother.
Yep.
So feel free to launch it in there, Stephen.
Indeed.
Seriously, dude, he has got to go. You need to be like, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. Punchy, the tribe has spoken. Please pack up your knives and go. Your work of art didn't work for us. Your time's up. I have to ask you to leave the mansion. You must leave the chateau. Your tour ends here. You've been chopped.
Okay, yeah, I know.
You've been evicted from the Big Brother house. Your dessert just didn't measure up. Sashay away. Give me a jacket and leave Hell's Kitchen. I'm sorry, you did not get a rose. You have been eliminated from the race. You are no longer in the running to be America's next top model. You're fired. I'll be the same.
Good. I didn't actually know some of those, but some of the I could name obviously the Apprentice with Donald Trump at the end. You had Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's
you
Kitchen. You
Survivor.
had Big Brother. You had Survivor. You had Amazing Race. You had
Race. What was that? Sashay Away. I didn't actually
I
know
do
that.
not
that
know
one.
what that is.
I know. I'm thinking maybe some girly runway model. Anyways, the topic of the
Doesn't
day
matter.
is people being canceled, and we're going to talk about two examples. We're going to talk about why they matter and why how to interpret these. So, Stephen, take us away.
Okay. Just quickly sharing.
Bam! Share away, man.
Dragon Blast. Every time. Man, tech issues are just happening all the time today.
They're all over
Brian
the place.
Stelter to depart CNN as it cancels reliable sources. And I love how they put reliable sources in quotes. Because
NPR, I know,
it
right?
was quotes. So, it's canceling its Sunday media fair show Reliable Sources, and host Brian Stelter is departing the network. In a statement to NPR, Stelter says he's grateful for the show and his team's examination of the media truth and the stories that shape our world. Go, you do you, Stelter. Yep.
You know, Mr. Potato Head here, talking reliable.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It was a rare privilege to lead a weekly show focused on the press at a time when it has never been more consequential, Stelter said, promising
I'm
to
such
say
a
more
funny
on
guy,
Sunday's
and I'm
show. Its
definitely
final
not gay.
episode. Nuisance money! That's the one. Every time I think of Brian Stelter, I think of that.
It's like, I totally love women. I'm so super straight.
Yeah.
I love yeah.
Stelter going to start blogging about cable news as a student and went on to become a media reporter for the New York Times. Terrible place to start. Reliable Source is the longest running show on CNN. Stelter has hosted it for the past 9 years and celebrated the show's 30th anniversary in March. So, CNN is dying.
Yeah.
And Stelter is just the most recent cut.
Well, the reason that, so for those of you who don't know, so Brian Stelter has kind of been a hallmark, one of the biggest, most recognizable names and figures at CNN for the last couple of years. Stelter was also
terrible failure.
Yeah, but then that doesn't say much because a lot of people were big names and big figures. So like Andrew Cuomo, was it Andrew Cuomo or
Chris
Cuomo? Chris Cuomo was a major figure on CNN for a long time. He got canceled, and there were some other ones I think as well that also got
well, there was, Jeffrey Toobin is apparently now leaving. So
He's
those
back.
who think back to I think it was back in 2020, Jeffrey Toobin on a Zoom call was caught pleasuring himself.
Yeah, masturbating, but and while talking to other female like coworkers, which is why it was a huge scandal. It should be.
And then he came back with like very little pomp and circumstance.
They just pretend like.
And then now they're like, okay, I guess we have to let you go, not because of the pleasuring, but because we have to let you go.
Yeah. Now the real reason why Stelter is out is because CNN got a brand new CEO, I think it was, or like somebody in charge.
Well, they got taken over by a different company.
Yes, and the new owner, the new basically person in charge, basically said, I'm going to basically reform this company and try to bring it back to being somewhat reliable and trustworthy again, because it basically has become like the National Enquirer.
Yep.
Just like nothing but sensational stories and a whole bunch of hubris and lies and all that. And so a lot of people were speculating, like, Brian Stelter's going to be gone. And like now it finally came after a long, long time of speculation that they were doing. And one of the companies that was constantly like not only predicting but also mocking Brian Stelter for his poor fake journalism was Louder Crowder. And Louder Crowder is one of the other companies that got canceled this week. And that story comes from the Daily Caller.
Yes.
So bring it up. We'll bring up both and then we'll talk about them.
Okay, so YouTube suspends Steven Crowder's show alleging misinformation in Carrie Lake interview. So YouTube suspended conservative comedian Steven Crowder's show over a now removed interview with Republican Arizona gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake. The platform said the interview violated their misinformation policy. It didn't. Because of Lake's claim that there was widespread fraud in the 2020 presidential election, according to Crowder's tweet posted late Wednesday. Lake told Crowder that if she is elected, she intends to investigate the alleged voter fraud, both in the last presidential election and in the gubernatorial primary she recently won. Content that advances false claims that widespread fraud, errors, or glitches changed the outcome of the United States 2020 presidential election is not allowed on YouTube, the notification said.
And it kind of went on from there. Now, I did actually watch. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but so one thing I noticed. I don't know if I noticed this. Normally, whenever in the past, whenever Louder Crowder, which is one of my favorite shows, by the way, on YouTube.
We know.
Commentary.
We know.
But he, whenever they got banned from the past, it's just YouTube that won't stream them. But what I noticed today is that when I try to listen to the podcast on Spotify, it would not play. And then I tried again on Apple Podcasts. It also wouldn't play. And I'm like, I wonder if they're also blocking today's episode from airing. So I'm like, I'm actually wondering if like that it goes deeper. But the important thing is, one of the things he said on the show today, he said that apparently YouTube told him that what they were expecting is that whenever Carrie Lake said what she said, he was supposed to correct her on air. He was like, that's what the expectation is. You can have guests on your show say things that are wrong, that they consider wrong, but even if you don't say what's wrong, you get dinged for someone else's words, even if they're a guest speaker. And what that is, and I think Tim Pool also got hit with this. Tim Pool was told, "Oh, we need you to editorialize like we basically you need to like fact check all of Trump's quotes, otherwise you're not being a good journalist. You're not doing journalism like properly." Essentially, what they want is like even conservative commentators and conservative hosts to basically like spew the narrative. This is exactly the same kind of thing that they wanted to do to Pastor Arthur Pawlowski here in that court case where they said like, oh, you can speak about politics, but every time you do, you have to bring up this little document and say, what I say is completely
What I say is
not what
not
experts
approved by
say,
the
not approved by the legal experts and all these other people.
absolutely nonsense.
Yeah, all hail Trudeau. But yeah, so Steven Crowder was basically like down, not because anything that he said is correct or anything that Kerry Lake said was like even like unsubstantiated. It's because it doesn't align with the narrative that they want to push, which is that the election was the most incredible, perfect, and flowery, election in human history, and no election compares to it. And now shut up, you conspiracy theorist. It's basically the way that they did it.
Yeah.
And on Tuesday, we even showed a video showing it was like 12 minutes of Democrats questioning election results. Everything from like the 2016 election, which they went on and on about, to the
Georgian election of Stacey
Georgian
Abrams.
election, to the 2004 election of George W. Bush, the 2000 election of George W. Bush, to all sorts of. Democrats have been doing this for 2 decades.
They've basically doubted every election which they've lost in the past 20 years.
2 decades.
And the one time which Republicans are like,
something was up.
There's something fishy. And it's just like, you're a conspiracy theorist. How dare you? You're terrible. You're misinformation.
Well, even worse, they call it the misinformation. No, you said that.
Yeah.
They freak out. It's like at this point you need to stop pointing out the obvious that it's a double standard. Like they know and they don't care. They know that it's a double standard. They couldn't care less that it's a double standard. They will just do it anyways, whether or not it is or isn't hypocritical. What you have to remember is that these are not people that you try to engage with and let's work together. These are people who are actively seeking all sorts of wrong, and this is the problem. Now, Brian Stelter, by comparison, that show was canceled not because of hardcore censorship, but what would be a proper market approach to what a show should or shouldn't be. The show's canceled because it doesn't do well, because it doesn't bring in ratings, because it doesn't. It's not a quality show unless people aren't watching it. That's the way that things should work. I mean, by that standard, CBC, the company here in Canada, should be gone. Should be long gone. It can't even attract sponsors or advertisers because they know nobody's watching. The only reason that it's still alive is because the government, the federal government, is just throwing bucket loads of money at it, keeping this corpse alive, but has lost pretty much all major viewers. Mm-hmm. Nobody watches CBC anymore for good reason. But this is the
a couple minutes ago. Sorry, I missed this. From Highstar, it was just saying that YouTube and Google, of course, collect and sell all their users' data. So, major problem.
It's true.
YouTube is a problem.
No. Here's the problem. What do you do for alternatives? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say, for example, if you're on Facebook, what are the alternatives? Now, I will say I have found some. One of the alternatives is called MeWe, which the infrastructure of MeWe is actually decently good. It could be a viable alternative. The problem is that nobody leaves Facebook and goes to MeWe. Yeah. So unless you have some massive amount of people mass migrating, you're not going to really be able to do much on MeWe. Same with YouTube. Rumble is a viable alternative. People like Steven Crowder can't get most of their users to migrate over to Rumble. So
and even I noticed this earlier today, because I was watching their live stream on Rumble. Watching a live stream on your phone on Rumble, not cool. It's
has
not
a lot
well
of work
done.
to do.
You cannot go. If you miss anything, you can't go back. There's no scrolling button on your phone. Mm-hmm. And of course, the scrolling thing, even on your computer, we've noticed this when watching Rumble videos on my PC.
Very difficult.
In order to find a specific clip, you actually have to you have to drag and drop it. You can't just hover over. There's a lot of things about Rumble service and Rumble technology, which needs work and refinement. Now, I'm saying it's by far the best alternative to what we have to YouTube, but it still needs a lot of work. Now, of course, we're on multiple platforms, including YouTube and Rumble. We're also on YouTube and BitChute, and they have their issues too. YouTube is actually one of my favorite platforms.
Yeah, I actually like BitChute really well.
I like BitChute, but BitChute, you know what issues you have. And it's a problem.
Yeah, but I will say this. The video platforms there's a lot. We're getting more competition on them. And there's a lot of them. There's like Rumble, there's obviously BitChute, there's Odyssey, there's a bunch of other ones. But like they're starting to get more marketplace value, and I'm glad because that's what you need in order to dethrone YouTube and for you to finally realize that they're going to lose their position. I'm hoping that YouTube will eventually become like Netflix, where they're like, "Oh crap, we screwed up, and now we're losing everything in our revenue," and they finally have to shape up. I'm hoping that they get there. So that's the hope.
Yes.
But the problem is, here's the major problem with YouTube, and this goes across the board. The problem with YouTube is, yes, you can say that their policies are very discriminatory towards conservatives, but really the problem is the double standard, that they don't apply their own policies equal. The conservatives get booted, hit hard, and nobody else. And that's the problem. And it's only going to get worse. I'm expecting it to get worse. And the fact that they raided Trump, the fact that they kicked Carrie Lake, who is a gubernatorial candidate for
Arizona governor. Yep.
For Arizona, now she can't actually reach a big proportion of her constituents because YouTube is interfering with elections. That's what they're actually doing. They're actually interfering with elections now. And that should concern everybody.
Yes.
So things to think about. This is the 2 cancellations. One is good because, acknowledging that one show's not doing well.
Yeah,
the other
if a show's not doing well, then it's not so much a cancellation as it is you got rejected by the market.
You're fired.
Whereas with Steven Crowder, it's a cancellation entirely because of ideological means.
Just censored.
And that's censorship, not cancellation.
That's right. Good point.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Take opposes against the First Amendment. America. Except in Canada. Totally acceptable to censor speech. So, screw Canada.
Yeah.
Moving on to the New World Order. Okay, so this week, the New World Order, we're going to talk about terrorism, specifically stochastic terrorism. And we're going to introduce it by talking about Boston Children's Hospital and the issues which brought about this whole incident. So we're going to watch this video from Boston Children's Hospital, which has since been deleted because of the backlash. And they wholeheartedly deserve the backlash.
They should.
Gender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves, and parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or standing to urinate, trying to stand to urinate, refusing to stand to urinate, trying on siblings' clothing, playing with the quote opposite gender toys, things like that.
My goodness.
It's funny, when my nieces or they were little, they used to do things they used to play, they tend to be dogs. According to these modern standards, I'm like, you should have basically put them on the road to becoming dogs. Because apparently, anything that a kid believes, does, and thinks in their, when they're toddlers, apparently that makes them what they think they are. It's like adults pretend like they're idiots in order to get kids to do ridiculously horrible and very destructive things. That's kind of what it is. This is a doctor, by the way. Do no harm, except with gender transition.
Except with children.
It's okay.
Then it's okay to manipulate and cut them up.
Yeah,
So, from W. Burr, which is a local Boston platform. Boston Children's Hospital deluged in harassment campaign. So they've become the target of a harassment campaign based on inaccurate information about its transgender surgery program. Hospital staff said the campaign includes aggressive calls, emails, and death threats. We're deeply concerned by these attacks on our clinicians and staff fueled by misinformation and lack of understanding and respect for our transgender community, the hospital said in a statement. We're working with law enforcement to protect our clinicians, staff, patients, families, and the broader Boston children's community and hold the offenders accountable. Boston police say they are investigating the reported threats, and U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, Rachel Rollins, says that she is concerned. People are permitted to agree or disagree, but when it crosses into the levels of threats, that's when we're potentially going to have law enforcement respond to this incident. So a campaign started this week with criticism of a video posted on the hospital's website about hysterectomies. Several conservative social media accounts shared posts about the video on Twitter. Also, they shared posts about the video that we just showed. The hospital performs hysterectomies on patients 18 and older, but not on children, as some of the posts claimed. So they said that they were consider performing other procedures, including phalloplasty or penis construction on a 17-year-old male transgender patients, but it said that that hasn't happened because no 17-year-old apparently has met the legal or other criteria.
You know, the funny thing is, I think they showed this on a couple different shows, that they went in and changed all that information when the backlash came, and people who actually got the screenshots and actually saved the actual pages showed that, nope, this was completely and totally them trying to hide what they were bragging about only a few days
Well, and
earlier.
of course, in other videos that they released, they're like, well, we're not doing surgery on minors. Or at least we're not doing hysterectomies on minors. We're still removing... We're doing top surgery on girls as young as 14, I believe. And they're removing... doing bottom removal or bottom modification as young as 16. And then, of course, they're applying puberty blockers as young as 10. So, you're not doing hysterectomies. Who cares? You're still pushing dangerous things on children. You're still pushing things that will cause them permanent, life-altering harm.
Yeah.
And you're hiding behind, well, the hysterectomies claim isn't true now because we might have altered or deleted the file.
Yeah, and this is also like something that what's his name, Michael Knowles was pointing out, that there's a game here. There's a tactic that is constantly being used by people on the left, which is basically you do these horrible, terrible, gas-worthy things. And then when you go too far and people get outraged, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that. Then they pivot and then they accuse you of being like, oh, well, you're such a terrible, horrible, person. You're so, and then they accuse you of harassment and of inciting violence. It's like the ultimate gaslighting campaign. Have you seen that meme, Stephen, of the woman who's taking a big pile of mud or dirt or whatever it is and shoveling it over a wall? Like this one here. It looks like this. So basically, there's a woman. She's shoveling mud over a wall, and then as soon as she's standing there, 3 shovels are shoveling the dirt back, and then she's like, "Oh, help! Misogyny! Help! Misogyny!"
Yeah.
This is the meme that describes what they're doing. They do these horrible things. People are shocked, and then they turn around and say anybody
and claim victimhood.
Claim victimhood and claim that the people who are criticizing are somehow evil or are calling for violence or death threats or something. Yeah. Remember, the media did this with Trump. They raided his home. It was a huge, huge problem. People got angry and started talking about it. Media immediately started talking about the rhetoric. Yep. The rhetoric of the Republicans. Oh, they're going to get someone killed.
It's just terrible.
Yeah. This is how they do it.
Well, and then, of course, it doesn't end with this post. Now, of course, we're not accepting threats. Threats, especially physical.
I love how we have to say that.
I know.
This isn't even like obviously nobody's calling for it.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't actually say that isn't enough. You actually have to state that
Well, and of course, what they're calling for here in this So in this next article from The Advocate, which is specifically in LGBTQ stuff and LGBTQ stories. So, quote, attacks on the LGBTQ plus community amount to stochastic terrorism. So the U.S. I know that's an interesting word. Never heard it before this week. So the U.S. has seen increased violence in recent years, and a specific path has emerged. It begins with poisonous rhetoric that inspires individuals and groups to engage in violent behavior. It's called stochastic terrorism, and it's a big problem online. The danger with this violence is extreme because it's inspired by politicians and media personalities who aren't held accountable. Stochastic terrorism is based on a psychological phenomenon in which someone is inspired to act violently in the name of something they perceive as wrong from messages they receive that are designed to inspire such action. Put another way, it refers to terrorism that is statistically predictable but unpredictable on an individual basis. One can find an example of stochastic terrors in the attack on a Cincinnati Federal Bureau of Investigation field office days ago, inspired by the anti-FBI rhetoric.
You know, it's funny how they never, apply stochastic terrorism to, say, the guy who was going to murder, Kavanaugh.
Oh, yeah.
Funny how that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's only stochastic terrorism if it's on the right. Now, of course, they're poking directly at individuals like Matt Walsh, individuals like Libs of TikTok, for pointing out these Boston Children's Hospital videos and saying, this is inappropriate, this is dangerous. Contact their administrators and tell them what they're doing is wrong and say, you guys need to be investigated, you guys are abusing kids. Like, espousing opinions and making sure it's known that the conservative right is not going to stand by idly while all of this stuff happens. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the left and organizations like GLAAD and The Advocate are, this is inspiring extremism and violence. No, we're not. We're simply saying that what they're doing is horrendous and wrong, and it's not the conservative commentator's fault. It's not our fault if we critique what is verifiably and certifiably wrong. Mm-hmm. And if someone takes that the wrong way and takes it steps too far. We have not advocated, and we will never advocate for violence on the show unless things take a really bad turn for the worse. But hasn't happened yet, so we're not going to bring it up.
No. Violence is not inherent in itself evil. It only violence. There's different kind. Freeing the prisoners or the people from the concentration camps in Germany required violence in order to get there.
I'm saying specifically. Acting outside of the law to achieve a result that could be acquired by the law.
Yeah. There's a really funny episode of this where the idea of witches, right? And they were accusing people left and right of witches, and eventually Lisa, who was always really critical, she was criticizing her dad. And he's like, she's a witch. And everyone's like, they chased after her and all that because she raised criticism. This is basically modern day witch hunts. That's what they're doing. They don't like criticism of any kind. Scrutiny, criticism, any kind of even critique of anything that they say, they immediately label it as you're up to no good. You're dangerous. And they basically treat people like they basically want to eliminate any and all criticism. By the way, this approach to criticism is bad and never acceptable under any circumstances. This comes from Marxist countries. Historically, in the Soviet Union, if you were caught saying anything, even remotely unflattering about the government or anything that the government does, no questions asked. You're guilty. Off to the gulag. It's gulag for you. Yeah. And that's what these people want to establish. In the past, we always say we need to talk. We need to have dialogue and all that. And that's still the conservative approach. Dialogue is good. But the problem is that the enemy is not acting with the same rules. Like Stephen and I talked about a couple weeks ago. We said that it's you're trying to have a conversation with someone who's trying to punch you.
Yes.
It's no, you need to stop conversing because they don't want to talk. They want to punch you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Start putting your hands up and being like, nope, no, you're punching
No,
me.
I'm not going to let you do this.
Right.
Because you are altering the deal. Pray I don't change it any further.
Amen.
But yeah, like, we're trying to engage in a lot of these aspects and a lot of these conversations. We're trying to engage reasonably. We're trying to engage shrewdly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas they are reacting solely and explicitly with rudeness and violence.
Yeah.
And then anytime we respond and be like, hey, we're going to call out your rudeness and your violence and your abuse and your rhetoric, they're like, oh, they're the extremists. They're the violent ones. It's like, no, we're just saying your behavior is contemptible. And for that very reason, they're like, yep, you called us out. You stated your opinion. That's violence.
Yeah. This is basically no different than an abusive spouse. Comes home, drunk, probably like crashed the car and all that. The wife is home saying like, where were you? And immediately he starts throwing out accusations. Oh, you're such a paranoid. Oh, you're such a terrible wife. How dare you like question me? And like, this is abusive. What the Democrats are doing and what the liberals are doing in Canada and what all leftist groups, Marxist, they're all the one linking thread is that they're all Marxist.
Yep. And
Marxists have no intention of having a conversation because to them, the ends always justify the means. And this is the same thing. It's like, well, we're going to get our way. And
it's just a matter of of whether we have to go through you or not.
If they have to cheat, lie, and like kill their own grandmother to get there, they will, because it's all about power for them.
Yep.
So, yeah. You have a video,
all right.
Steve?
Yeah, we're going to quickly show the video. So, stop trying to make stochastic terrorism a thing. Or, like from Mean Girls.
Really complimented you. That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Stop trying to make it happen. Stop trying to make stochastic terrorism happen. It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
It's just dumb.
No, it's just dumb.
It's just stupid. All right, so now we're going to talk about the news you may have missed. To talk about the news that you may have missed.
Put on that good music, Steven.
I did.
Let's roll.
I did.
Nice.
So, kind of talking about the gender issues, non-binary Joan of Arc play causes a stir as critics turn on depiction of cultural icon. No freaking kidding.
More stochastic terrorism.
Yep. Theater bosses say the play I, Joan, which charts the life of the French patron saint, will offer the possibility of another point of view when it arrives later this month. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that looks really weird.
Even if that point of view is completely based on nothing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So, a new Globe Theatre production looking at the life of Joan of Arc will see the legendary French heroine made into a non-binary character. The historical figure is known for fearlessly leading the French in the battles against the English soldiers in the 100 Years' War. Bosses of the London Theatre say the play I, Joan, which charts the life of the French patron saint, will offer the possibility of another point of view. It's also played by a non-binary they-them person.
Of course they are.
Yeah, for centuries, Joan has been a cultural icon, portrayed in countless plays, books, films, said Michelle Terry. History has provided countless and wonderful examples of Joan portrayed as a woman. This production is simply offering the possibility of another point of view. That is the role of theater. No.
You know, we should make a theater production about like Abraham Lincoln, basically a lizard person, like with like a mask and all that. Because I mean, like, hey,
what?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's the purpose of theater, isn't it?
And we're gonna do Julius Caesar's gonna be basically like a Romulan, like in human form, trying to like figure out like how things work.
Yeah,
it's basically Spock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is how history works. You basically make historical figures into puppets.
Yeah,
that do whatever you want. So it works.
Mm-hmm.
Or
if you really want to go further, then you'd have like The Handmaid's Tale rewritten so that the entire thing is like burning lefties. You're like, this is what you're truly fearing. Yeah, it's not going to happen, but it's entertaining.
Hey, it's artistic expression.
It's artistic expression. I'm gender non-binary.
Totally cool. All right, we got this from NBC News. Texas child. Texas Child Protective Services worker fired after telling a 14-year-old girl in foster care to enter sex work. Why would they be fired? That can't be wrong in any way. The safety and appropriateness with which children in care must be treated is our paramount concern, the Department of Family and Protective Services said. Trying to figure out what's wrong with this story. Texas Child Protective Services was fired this month after she was caught on video, even better, on video, telling a 14-year-old girl she should consider sex work. The unidentified Texas Department of Family employee was dismissed after her conversation with the girl, who recorded the discussion while she was in foster care. Even better. Oh, great. Video first aired on the station in Houston. Girl was being housed in a hotel before her foster family could be found. The video shows the girl asking the employee for food, then being encouraged by the employee to become a prostitute. Oh, how lovely. Can we, in the iconic words of Troy Barnes on the show Community, someone turn her into a dude so I can punch her? That's basically this employee telling someone to do something is dangerous and immoral. And
it's telling her to do something, and it's like, well,
illegal.
Why did they tell her to do this? Well, they told her to do this because she didn't have food. It's like,
that's good.
Why would you immediately jump to prostitution? What?
The problem here is that we have a massive problem in both U.S. and Canada. We have some horribly evil, and people just look the other way. It's like, what? Nothing to see here. It's fine. No worries. Terrible stuff. Like these are the things we should be worried about. Not, this transgender person was misgendered, and they're crying. Oh, heart.
It's horrifying.
Horrifying.
No, exposing and pushing children into sex work is, well, it's not as bad as childhood transitioning, but it's bad.
Yeah, well, speaking of, fake victims, talk about the next one now.
Yeah, speaking of grooming kids like this person tried to, the Flash star Ezra Miller enters treatment for complex mental health issues amid legal troubles. So, making headlines following multiple accusations of criminal activity, the Flash star Ezra Miller has entered treatment for complex mental health issues. The 29-year-old actor, who identifies as non-binary, of course, released an official statement detailing what happened. Have recently gone through a time of intense crisis. I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment, Miller's rep told Variety on the actor's behalf. I want to apologize to everyone that I've alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I'm committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life.
Oh, that totally, completely unkidnaps that girl.
Yeah, and of course, in March, he pled no contest after being arrested in Hawaii for disorderly conduct. And then, of course, he was accused by two parents of grooming their daughter since she was 12.
Yep. And I heard this somewhere, but apparently he was accused of either participating or being part of some kind of sex cult. Like this guy has a laundry list of real issues. Now this is not like a desire or an attempt to be like he's horrible, let's hate him or something like that. It's more of we want accountability for people like this. We want to stop treating people with kids clubs and stop treating them like they're victims and be like, no, this person did something wrong. We don't hate them, but we want some kind of accountability. Yes, it's great that he's getting treatment, but he should still get punished.
Yeah.
For the crimes that he committed. Don't give him that kind of it's all good because you're part of this special sacred group in society. No, this is unfair treatment. This should be changing.
Yep.
All right. So this is from Business Insider. Trump endorses Dan Goldman, the lawyer who led his impeachment, amid a confounding string of Truth Social posts praising Democrats. So that's interesting.
Have you heard this story?
I have not heard the story.
This story is so ridiculous, but it's funny. Okay. Yeah, I can read it. It is entertaining.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
So Trump claimed to endorse Democratic reps Carolyn Maloney, Jerry Nadler, and Dan Goldman. Goldman, a lawyer who led Trump's first impeachment hearing, said Trump was trying to meddle in an election. If the endorsements are intended to sour Democratic voters on the candidates, they're reminiscent of efforts by Democrats to meddle in the 2022 Republican primaries, which we already know they're doing. So, do they have the quotes of what he said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Impeachment.
Quote, I do this, so this is him endorsing Dan Goldman. I do this not because of the fact that he headed up the impeachment committee and lost, but because he was honorable, fair, and highly intelligent. The House succeeded in impeaching Trump in both 2019 and 2021, but he was not convicted in the Senate in either case. Oh, that's not the quote. It didn't finish the... Oh yeah, sorry. While it was my honor to beat him, and beat him badly. He was a wonderful future ahead. I would like to thank Dan for fighting so hard for America and so tirelessly to stop Trump. He was not easy to beat, but winning again against him made me realize just how very talented I am. It's just like...
We need to have Trump back. I'm sorry.
You are such a troll, but it's funny.
Jeez, this guy knows. This guy knows how to, how to trigger the libs.
Oh, where was... oh, yes. The Carolyn Maloney.
Yeah, she's the kind and wonderful person who has always said terrific things about me. And I will support her no matter what I do, just as I supported her very early on.
On the other hand, Jerry Nadler is likewise a hard-driving man of the people, whose energy and attention to detail is unlike anyone else in Congress. He is high energy, sharp, quick-witted, and bright.
Everybody knoshe Nadler. That is not how you describe Nadler.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either, but
second.
Carolyn Maloney is the better man. She will lead our country into a very green and prosperous future. Carolyn has my complete and total endorsement. She will never let our conservative movement down.
Jerry Nadler, by the way, is he looks like he's always seconds away from literally going like that. He
This is basically Jerry Nadler all the time. It's just, it's funny. It's funny. It's just oh my goodness.
This is how Trump works. It's great. I'm going to read the story from Reuters. Okay, so Reuters. China to send troops to Russia for Vostok exercise. So apparently, Chinese troops will travel to Russia to take part in joint military exercises led by the host, including India, Belarus, Mongolia, Tajikistan, and other countries. China's defense ministry said on Wednesday. China's participation in the joint exercises was unrelated to the current international situation, the ministry said in a statement. Oh, totally. I mean, we can just trust that. Last month, Moscow announced plans to hold Vostok East exercises from August 30th to September 5th, even after it wages a costly war in Ukraine, and said at the time that some foreign forces would participate without naming them. I'm sure it's fine. Nothing bad could come from this. It's all good,
Yeah. It's only, the two most manipulative, massive government powers in the world.
America's two biggest, enemies.
America's two biggest enemies generally to freedom across the world at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's kind of like
it's no big deal that they're getting together and having a powwow. No big deal.
It's kind of like how when Germany was sending all its pilots and army to the Spanish Civil War, they were just kind of tagging along. There's no problems there. Nothing to see here. It's all fun. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. Steven, you got the next one?
Yes, I do.
Finally from Blaze Media.
Yeah, so scientists report major breakthrough in nuclear fusion energy. I had to correct Tate on this.
Why? Oh, the nuclear?
The nuclear. Yeah.
Hey,
Scientists
George W. said it right. Come on. George W. is never wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Especially about WMD. Totally.
Get me a taco. Left tacos.
Get the taco button.
Yeah. Results of the breakthrough were published last week in 3 peer-reviewed journals. The experiments occurred at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory.
Oh!
I fixed it. Laboratory.
You did a
National Ignition
laboratory.
Facility in California last year. Nuclear fusion reactors are what power the sun and other stars. In a fusion reaction, 2 atoms collide with enough force that they fuse together to form a different atom. This process releases large amounts of energy as a byproduct.
Also, in other news, there's a new doctor working on the doctor. What's his last name? Otto Octavius. Dr. Otto Octavius is also working on this project.
Yes.
No word on potential catastrophes to make up.
According to sources, he claims it is the power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
According to sources close to the project.
Yeah. Okay, but back in real news, according to Discovery magazine, nuclear fusion has been considered the holy grail of energy research almost since its existence was first theorized by Arthur Eddington. For decades, scientists have attempted to harness energy from fusion and machines on Earth. Successful fusion reactors would be amongst the cleanest, safest, and most sustainable energy sources possible, explains ITER, an international fusion research and engineering process or project. So, we've been talking about nuclear power for a while. We've often been proponents of it and encouraged it because, of course, it has very, very few downfalls.
Yeah.
And it's cleaner than what they want to push.
Yeah.
By quite some measure.
I think it's actually considered to be like the safest energy source.
Yeah, as long as they have consistent checks and balances and safety processes, which they've implemented fairly consistently since Chernobyl.
Yeah.
And there haven't, as far as I'm aware, there haven't been any serious nuclear problems since then.
No, and the only one that people look, because I saw an interview with Andrew Lawton, interviewed somebody who is very familiar with the nuclear facilities and all that. And the guy basically said, like, yeah, the only example they can come up with in the modern era is what happened in that nuclear reactor in Japan.
Yeah,
but he's like, that was not in any way a failure of the nuclear reactor.
No, that was an external element.
It was an external cause that pretty much blew every kind of thing away and all that. And
you couldn't really. It wasn't something that could be predicted or controlled.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the same can be said about like dams, like hydroelectric dams. For the most part, hydroelectric dams have been fine, and I don't think there's been any major catastrophe that's caused like an actual flood. But like they can cause massive floods that can kill tons of people. So I mean, like if you're talking about potential danger, yeah, every major, thing can cause major danger and harm to a lot of living things and all that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try.
I'm with you 100% there. All right,
Amen.
So we're going to transition to our final segment, which is once again the Nothing to See Here.
Nothing to see here. All
right. So we're going to play the video because we haven't written an intro yet. We apologize.
We shall.
Excuse me. All right, move on. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.
Let's keep moving. Nothing to see
keep
here.
Keep moving along.
All fine. All right. So
exactly.
In today's episode of Nothing to See Here, we're going to cover 3 different stories that happened in the past week. And the common thread I want you to focus on is how adamantly and really furiously and angrily these people in power try to downplay and memory hole and even try to like hide the wrongs that are being done, right? Because this is happening not only across the United States, it's happening in Canada, and actually it's happening around the world. And these are the kind of things where, again, people are being harmed, and we're just supposed to pretend nothing's going wrong, nothing to see here. This is basically the catchphrase of all of these stories. So, Stephen, like the Rebel News story is the first one.
Yep.
That I kind of caught my eye, but yeah, go into it.
All right, so from August 13th, which was about a week ago now. Mm-hmm. So father exposes child grooming books in Canadian schools, very much like the American schools where this has been also discovered. One shocking finding is a collection of over 2,000 cases of sexual misconduct involving minors from adults in Canada's education system. Barnes argues the sexually explicit books he is raising awareness about could get used as tools by such predators to aid them in child grooming. Mm-hmm. So in today's reports...
If you look at the video, like just even the video title, just look at the pictures on there.
Yep.
You have like cartoon depictions of graphic sexual encounters.
Well, in this book, I believe this was the book, and they talked about this book in What is a Woman?
It's Perfectly Normal, right?
Yeah. And this is not appropriate imagery to show to children.
No, not at all. If you had an actual adult, like babysitting your children, and he was showing them books like this, you could actually charge him, like,
Yeah.
like grooming and possibly like child endangerment.
So, Pierre
But
Barnes
it's
is a
okay.
father of 4 who has done extensive research on the books that are currently being normalized in some Canadian public schools thanks to the controversial sexual orientation and gender identity agenda, like the SO-IGI 123 curriculum. So they don't seem to care, Barnes told the Rebel News reporter in reference to a Burnaby's Board of Education, which is where she met up with him to do the interview. Barnes has been emailing many Canadian school boards to make sure their elected officials are aware of the book, like it's perfectly normal and sex is a funny word in their school district libraries. Such books show graphic illustrations for children of things like adults masturbating and performing various heterosexual and homosexual acts on each other. And a previous Rebel News report informed the public about 4 and 5-year-old children in BC junior kindergarten class who were sent home with a masturbation assignment. So the Canadian Centre for Child Protection includes encouraging a child to masturbate or watch others masturbate as an example of non-contact sexual abuse. Yep.
Yeah. If you encourage a child to masturbate, in any way, like, not like, even if you're the parent, I'm sorry, like, that shouldn't even thing at all. But under any circumstances, encouraging a child to masturbate is basically sexual exploitation and grooming.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest. But this is happening in schools, and it's happening behind closed doors, and parents aren't supposed to know, and they're supposed in the dark about these things. This is the kind of thing that's just like, it makes you want to literally, like, like pull your hair out in horror at what these people are doing. This is a problem that I think it's existed for a while. Like Stephen and I, we talked about. We didn't like do the whole thing or watch the whole thing, but we talked about an interview that was going on between Lila Rose, who's she's founder or like leader of Live Action, and a pro-abortion advocate. And one part of the discussion, it was a long discussion, 2 hours, but one part of the discussion, the pro-abortion advocate basically said, it's like, oh, well, one of the reasons why abortion is still a problem is because conservatives are fighting so hard for education. And then they had this whole dialogue about sex ed. And what it came down to is that the person believed that sex ed is the best solution to abortion because they think that the solution is teach kids about safe sex and how to avoid consequences, and that'll solve the problem. But here's the secret that you're not told. Sex ed has morphed from prevention of harm to promotion of sexual liberation and freedom. That's what they do in sex ed classes. They basically try to indoctrinate children, tell them that all sorts of sex, any kind, all kinds of sexual perversion, whether it's anal sex, whether it's masturbation, it's free for all. It's a big gourmet buffet. Go nuts. That's basically what they tell the kids and all these things. And then they hand them a whole bunch of condoms on the way out the door. Tell me if that isn't like, it's like you're basically like setting a gigantic bomb and hoping that nobody gets harmed. That's sex ed now. And this is one of the sad outcomes of the sex ed movement, which is morphed and transformed into a beast. It's basically like, Stephen, did you ever see read the play or the Little Shop of Horrors?
No.
Okay, so it's based on a play, but the premise is Little Shop of Horrors is like a guy finds his little fly trap. And he finds that it doesn't want to eat flies, but it does, like, apparently a drop of blood, it finds that it likes it. So in order to keep this thing alive, it keeps feeding it like blood. But this thing keeps growing and growing and growing until eventually it gets big enough. Now it's starting to eat cats and starting to eat dogs and other creatures, and eventually it grows so big that it'll start to basically eat people. And it starts to eat people in its life until eventually, in the end, it actually ends up eating him. And the idea of the story is that sex ed is like that flytrap. It started off as like, we're here to help kids so that kids don't know enough about sex and about safe sex. We need to teach them so that they can be safe. And it's now morphed into this monster that is devouring lives and devouring children, and it's basically telling them sex is a free for all. Go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It glamorizes sex and it hides the real, actual dangers of it. And this is what's happening in school. Schools have become child grooming centers, and that's what not. It's not even just individual teachers who want to like recruit for their LGBT, like communities, but actual educators, principals, everyone else. They're all participating in this thing.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't just stop in Canada. This also goes in the medical community. This is a story from the post-millennial that absolutely, I was like, when I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh. It's downright proof that there are some real problems in the medical. Go for it.
So father says pediatrician asks his 3-year-old son, "Are you a boy or are you a girl?" My wife and I are. Yep. Wife and I are waiting. Just checking something. In the waiting room with our son, and the doctor comes in. He sees my son sitting there at the table, and the first question that he asks him, "Are you a boy or are you a girl?"
I think you can just play the video, can't you?
Yep.
I don't think
This
it's that
video.
one. This video.
All right, I need to know if any parents of young kids have had this same experience. So we just took my 3-year-old son in the doctor for a checkup. My 3-year-old son. Okay, there's a reason why I'm emphasizing that, and you're about to know why. So my wife and I are waiting in the room with our son, and the doctor comes in. And he sees my son sitting there on the table, and the first question that he asks him is, "Are you a boy or are you a girl?" And I look at my wife like, what the f-? So luckily my son understands obvious tenets of biology at 3 years old, and says that he's a boy, just like his chart says. So the rest of the appointment, I can't even focus because I'm wondering why in the world this guy is asking the question. And then I remember, oh yeah, I live in California. And call me paranoid, but this is where I think we're heading based on other things that have happened. An Ohio couple lost custody of their teenager for refusing them hormone treatment. And a divorced Texas couple were in a court battle over whether or not to let their 7-year-old transition from a boy to a girl. And many are saying that the new proposed Equality Act could lead to more parents losing custody of their kids who want gender transition. So again, call me paranoid, but I'm wondering if the doctor is asking the question of my son to see if he can establish a pattern over time that shows that my son wants to be a girl. But here's the thing, my son is 3. I'm not even going to let him choose what he wants for dinner. And some days, my son thinks he's a dinosaur, but I'm not going to let him transition to a dinosaur. And being in California, this is probably going to happen to people like me first, but I don't think it's going to be long before we start seeing parents lose custody of their young kids because they're not letting them transition to the opposite gender. And I think pediatricians are going to be the ones who are going to start calling it out.
Yeah, Stephen,
Yep.
do you remember seeing did you ever watch Pinocchio as a kid?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know like the basic story? Pinocchio wants to be a real boy, all that stuff. But somewhere in between, there's this really, really bizarre and disturbing, little scenario that happens where Pinocchio is basically, he's basically won over by these very nice sounding people who sound like they want to give him a good time, and they basically take him to this island of amusement park island, and he finds out that this is actually basically a trap to basically turn all these young impressionable, easy naive boys into donkeys, and eventually they track them off to this island so they can be slaves. That's basically what's going on right now with the transgender cult. They're basically saying, you know what? Parents don't have any rights over their children. No right to decide what's best for their children. Only we get to decide. And if you say no, we're going to remove your kids and we're going to put them into this little assembly line of transgenderism for life. And it is this isn't even just wrong. This is horrifying because anybody who's actually investigated and done some research, actual outcomes of what happens when you're put on the road, gender, transitioning and all this kind of stuff. It is pretty horrifying. This past Tuesday, we talked about that one guy. Remember, Stephen?
Yep.
That guy who basically, it's actually a girl who was told that you can become a boy, and she's been through 12 surgeries, and she's seen some horrible outcomes. And she's not done, and they basically destroyed her life, and she somehow is trying to salvage what's left of her mutilated and distorted body.
Yeah.
But now they're doing this to 3-year-olds. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh well, all of this is just a progression, and they will go further and further, and they will always try younger and younger. Like we looked at that Boston Children's Hospital video where they were saying, oh yes, like almost from birth, parents have said that they've noticed their child wants to transition. They will push this younger and younger. And of course, we know from looking at other nations, and we know from looking at very progressive areas like California and BC, they will come for your kids. Because, as we stated in the very first segment, they're not going to come for you with rational arguments. They're going to come for you with emotional kind of claims and manipulation. And if they don't convince you, then they're going to try and take away your children. They're going to try and manipulate and brainwash your children. And if your children fall for it, which is much more likely than you falling for it, because that's why they're pushing to convert your children, because children will believe what they're told. If you tell a child, oh, like today you're a rocket ship. Oh, okay, I'm a rocket ship. And then if you tell a child, yep, you're a girl now. Go tell your parents, I'm a girl now. No, you're not. Your parents are not respecting your gender identity. They're abusing you.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they want. They want to destroy the nuclear family. They want to destroy the lives of so many children. And the government is allowing them to do it because the government is right underneath their thumb.
We just went through something very similar to this on a smaller, more concise scale with COVID. We had doctors telling people like these vaccines are super safe and effective and they'll never cause you any harm or never do anything wrong to you. And we knew then that was a big flat out lie. We know now that that is clearly a big flat out lie. Doctors that you're supposed to believe that they know best, like you have doctors who are telling people to mask up, even though the science is completely not there. But they're like, nope, I'm going to do what I'm told. And doctors who told you to get a vaccine that you do not need for a disease that likely will not kill you, to a vaccine that may actually, high likelihood, may. Like, now they're doing this with children. The doctors, the sad thing about the Boston, the Pittsburgh hospitals, these are actually doctors, people that we're supposed to trust. How can you have any trust for a doctor when they're basically telling you like lies like, oh, we're just going to put a pause on puberty. Like it's like puberty is something that can be paused.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. Like one thing I found out, like, and I'll finish with this. One thing I found out, like, do some research recently, is that one of the big side effects of the masks is that a lot of kids were not able to learn language at an age when language development is so crucial. The problem is, it's not. They said that's not something you can just kind of like, oh, don't worry, we'll just learn it later. It's like, no, if you miss that key, vital, like development hurdle at that proper age grab, you're gonna have problems the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because your brain naturally learns and gets these things and make these connections at that point. You skip that point, you have major problems for life, and those kids are probably going to have major language issues for life because they didn't develop them. You're telling me that you can pause puberty? They all, like, any doctor who says that is either lying like through their teeth or horribly ignorant to the point where they should not have a medical license, because that is malpractice to such a massive degree that they should lose their licenses. But it's not going to happen because they're protected by the powerful forces that are pushing this all on everyone. All right, one last story.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. All right. So, from the Daily Wire, exclusive veteran reports biological male allegedly assaulted girl in Florida school bathroom. Florida Education Department takes action. So, the Department of Education is ordering schools to alert parents of their children are forced to use bathrooms with students of the opposite sex following allegations that a biological male transgender student sexually assaulted a girl in a Florida public school bathroom. We find this allegation deeply disturbing and troubling. Clearly, if Brevard public schools had common sense policies that separate bathrooms and locker rooms by biological sex at birth, this incident would not have been possible. From Alex Lafranconi, Director of Communications at the Florida Department of Education, told the Daily Wire on Thursday afternoon. Unfortunately, some districts chose wokeness over the safety of their students. The Florida Department of Education will continue to take all the steps within its power to protect parental rights and student safety by developing rules that will notify parents if their children are at risk of exposure in these types of situations.
Yeah. Go down a little lower, Stephen, because like they basically cover how there was, and like some of the like back and forth kind of things. But the paragraph that starts the biologically male student.
There it is.
Right. So so obviously this transgender girl who's obviously a boy, like believes that he's a girl. He basically he fondled her breast, and apparently this wasn't the first time. He did it multiple times, and the girl kept trying to tell him to stop. But here's the important thing. They reported the incident, which made it clear the officials of the school were aware of the alleged incident as of early June. So the girl obviously reported this. But here's the interesting thing. Just a few more paragraphs down, it says all three. So all three investigated the claims. So this was the school and the sheriff's office
and Title IX
and the Florida DCF. Yeah. So all three of these organizations, like meant to protect children, they all investigated, and all three closed their cases with no action. What was described in the sheriff's office report, an incident that led to no charge being filed. My quotes were a reference to a false allegation. So here's what actually happened. They said later on that basically they were the parents who were trying to find out what happened, and the parents of the girl, they basically like ran into a whole bunch of blocks. Everyone was trying to tell them like, no, don't do this, don't file a report, don't they basically tried to obfuscate and basically prevent any charges. Because, and obviously like what are the reasons, Stephen, that in any organization would try to stop someone from pressing charges? What would be the reason you can think of?
Pressing charges would cause a lot of attention, a lot of scrutiny. Because if there's simply an investigation, then you can do so and you can kind of keep it under wraps. But if charges are filed, then it becomes public. And the school board does not want that becoming public, just like they did not want the incidents in the Loudoun County schools to become public. And it took a long time and effort, and it took undercover reporting from the Daily Wire to actually highlight that there was a student that had been transferred from school to school to school because he continued to assault girls, and the school was covering it up because he claimed that he was a girl.
Yeah. So the problem here is another double standard. But like in the Loudoun County incident, you'll notice that the school tried to hide it, and then they tried to blame the dad who came in furious that his daughter was assaulted. They're they try to make him into the bad guy.
Yeah.
And essentially there was pushback and hard because why? They're trying to protect the student, but more importantly, they're trying to protect their very important agenda, which is we have to make all schools and all buy into this idea that there are no genders and that gender bathrooms are not a thing and all this kind of stuff. It's so important that they can't allow or even permit even the whiff that there could be a problem here. What this is similar to, very similar to, and if you actually research this as well, you'll notice similarities. It's very similar to what happened under Catholic churches, where you would have an abusive priest who abused little kids, and instead of actually addressing it, instead of punishing it, they basically tried to hide it, and they tried to pretend it's not happening. Transfer him to another church, and then he'll do it again. And this happened with hundreds of priests over decades. Now, this same thing, like that story in the Rebel News article said, there have been thousands of reports of child abuse in schools in just Canada. 2,000, I think is what he said. The States is even higher. It's tens of thousands of cases of children being abused or exploited or groomed by people who are supposed to be trustworthy. problem here is that they're telling you that the real problem are you meddling parents and you evil people at home who are interfering with schools. Schools are the arbiters of like all that is good. We have your children's best intentions at heart. Even though if you're an educator at these schools, you basically put the kid on the little assembly line of transgenderism. It's like, okay, off you go. Okay, next kid. And then after they're gone, you don't give a crap. You won't follow up with them 10 years later, see how they're doing. You know who will? Their parents. Their parents will still care about them 10 years, 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. The people who put them on these things could not care less about these children because these people are monsters. And they are okay covering up abuse because it doesn't work for their narrative. Can't allow even the accusation that these that getting rid of bathroom distinctions causes harm. They can't allow that. Mm-hmm. So if a couple kids get hurt, a couple girls get fondled in the bathroom, a couple girls get sexually assaulted in some bathroom in a high school,
it's all worth
it.
Now
you know what? All for the greater good. The greater good. It's how this works. That's from
this is not a smiling matter.
It's from what's that movie? Hot Fuzz. If anybody wonders. The problem is that you're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to look into it. You're not allowed to criticize. Just like the story we covered earlier, you're supposed to just accept that these violations of humans, these abuses of children, that you know what? Don't you're not allowed to notice. You need to let them keep doing their abuse, keep hurting children, keep doing all these things. And you know what? If you actually have the audacity or the nerve to actually speak up, you're the monster.
You're the problem.
As they're chopping off little girls' breasts, as they're giving
them hormones and
that are making them sterile for life.
Making them sterile, that are changing their lives forever. And you say, shouldn't we evaluate this? Then they will punish you. And just like that father in BC, we don't even know his name because the court has ordered so that it wouldn't be released.
Yeah.
He will stay. Yeah. He's out on bail because he refused to allow his daughter to identify as a boy because it was it wasn't a biological reality. It was a biological lie.
Clearly, Stephen here is a stochastic terrorist. Everyone must cause harm. You know that interesting thing in the Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is the one who actually advocated, saying we need to hold this accountable for the things that they're doing. And one of the people who responded to him talked about it. She said, like, someone's going to get killed because of his reckless words. I'm like, the funny thing is, you're basically saying that Matt Walsh is trying to kill people. You don't think that kind of rhetoric would cause Matt Walsh?
Would cause him. And of course, those that do know about Matt Walsh, we know that Matt Walsh gets threatened on the daily. And like conservative individuals get threatened all the time. Mm-hmm. I think it was just on Monday, I got a message basically saying that this person hopes that I get every cancer there is and die, and then my daughter gets raped over and over and over again. This is the kind of things in which the left advocates.
It's a really upside down world, isn't it, Stephen? Because like what they say is it's an out and out lie. We say isn't, but like here's the thing. Like I really am trying to be fair about this. Like I'm trying to be fair minded about this. I'm not trying to just it's all my biased view and all that. But honestly, just from experience, the most vindictive, vicious, and brutally harsh and hateful people seem to exclusively live on the left. Yeah. Like some of the things that they will do and say are like horrifying, and yet they always claim that they're subject to abuse, and I'm like, nah, like I'm sure that there may be a couple examples, but considering how they view, like, remember, we see people on the left get criticized by, I don't know, not even criticized. Somebody like talks to them and tries to use reason, and they go away saying like, "Oh my God, I'm so harassed." Like, yeah, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that the way that you describe being attacked is legit.
Yeah.
Because they have a very distorted and skewed view of the world. They believe that like not agreeing with them is tantamount to violence.
Yeah.
So
Speech is violence.
Yeah. Again, this goes back. They're trying to gaslight you. They're trying to tell you, oh, you found out that the girl's being fondled and sexually harassed in the bathroom. Oh, no, nothing to see here. It's fine. Don't even think about it. Oh, you found out that we're putting pornography, actual pornography, in children's schools. No, you know what? Don't even worry about it. There's nothing to see here. Just ignore it. Oh, like a doctor is asking your child right in front of you what they are. Like, here's the last thing I want to say. I have to say before. Have you noticed, Stephen, that being transgender is the only medical diagnosis that is made exclusively by the patient? Have you noticed that? I walk into the doctor, I said, like, hey, I think I have cancer. Doctor's like, oh, you must have cancer. Let's go put you on some cancer treatments. Like, no, they're not going to do that. It's like, oh, I walk in, I'm like, oh, I think I might have, schizophrenia. Oh, we're like, time to put you on the things, and like, give you some medicine, and out the door. No, transgenderism is the only medical diagnosis that is exclusively made by the patient, not by the doctor.
Yes.
You know how I know that for sure? What's her name? Lauren Southern. Remember what she did?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Lauren Southern, great Canadian commentator, conservative commentator. She basically changed her gender using the medical system and the Canadian, government system. She basically, all she had to do, go to the doctor and say, like, yeah, I'm transgender. Doctor's like, okay, here's your note. She goes to the government office. Yeah, I'm a man. Oh, where's your documentation? Right there? Cool. You're a man now. Self-diagnosis. Doctors cannot say no.
Yeah.
This is why this thing is so gross.
So insipid and so harmful.
Yeah.
All right. That is nothing to see here. And that is where we're going to end today's show. If you've been following along with the live stream, haven't got much commentary, but that's all right. Sometimes that doesn't happen. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you're following later on our video platforms, on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and YouTube, then, of course, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. And give us interesting points of trivia in commentary. Always fun. If you're following us on our text platforms, then give us a like, review, a share, comment, all of those things.
A share.
A share. Share our wonders with the world. Yes. And then, of course, if you're following us on any of our podcast platforms, then share and download this video or this audio file.
By the way,
yes.
Big shout out, lots of love to our dear, wonderful friend Shelly. It's our biggest fan. We love you.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, like, I do this show because I love it. I love talking about this stuff. I think it's important stuff to talk about. But it's also great to, just to have, I like if our information, if our efforts help somebody or anybody to kind of get more insight, more perspective in the world, that's great. That's really what makes it worthwhile. So
yep, providing information and making you more shrewd it brings us a lot of enjoyment.
Well, we do.
That's what we do. All right, Danny.
Yeah. Time to put on your best fake smile. Baker? That's the one. Oh, come on. Brooklyn Nine-Nine! Nine-Nine!
I know, but I'm not doing
Steven's missing it. Oh, what a wet blanket. Wah, wah.
Why be rude when you can be shrewd ending the show?
So we are the Shrewd Dudes. We love what we do, and we're always trying to encourage you and remind you that why be rude? You can be shrewd. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You guys are awesome. We're also awesome. But we encourage you to keep watching whenever you can.
All right. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Tuesday for another Tuesday News Day. Until then, enjoy. And as always, God bless.